Now, the Craven County Board of Commissioners regular session for Monday, April the 1st, 2024 to order. Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hunt. Here. Commissioner Mark.
Here.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Howard.
Here.
Vice Chairman Booker.
Here.
Chairman Jones.
Here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, please let's stand together as our County Attorney, Mr. Eric Grady, will lead us in prayer. Then I ask you to remain standing after the prayer for the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag.
Lord God, we humbly come before you today, and we thank you for your love and your grace and your peace that is made available to us all. God, we ask for your divine wisdom and guidance here today, for you and you alone know the future and the things that are to come. We ask that you would lead us in the decisions we are part of, and that you would give us boldness to honor you. Would you empower every man and woman in this room to use the life you have given them for good? Let us be leaders who follow your example, leaders who love sacrificially, give selflessly, and serve graciously. May we all do our best to impact this incredible county and nation of ours for the better. We ask your blessing on our commissioners, on our county, and on our United States of America. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening to each of you, and we welcome you to the Board of Commissioners meeting, which is your meeting, and to those who may be viewing online, we also welcome you. We would ask for all of us in attendance this evening to please make sure our phones are on silence, if you would. We would appreciate it so it wouldn't disrupt our meeting tonight. Commissioners, you have before you your agenda packets. Are there any items you desire to add or pull from tonight's agenda?
I would say approve the agenda as is.
All right, we have a motion to approve the agenda as is. We have a second from Commissioner Howard. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would like to recommend that we move item number 3 and table it pending further study.
Okay. We had a motion and a second, Ms. County Attorney, the process that we usually take was to proceed on and vote on that first, but then we had a commissioner that wanted to pull an item. What's your recommendation, sir?
Mr. Chairman, help me. When was the motion to table
Commissioner Mark.
made?
Commissioner Mark made the motion first to approve the agenda as is.
Okay.
Seconded by Commissioner Howard, and then Commissioner Mitchell.
That's right. I'm sorry. You would have to act on the motion to approve first and then deal with the motion to table. If the agenda is approved as presented and the board wants to defer action on item number 3, the next appropriate motion would be to table that matter versus amending the agenda, if you will, Mr. Chairman.
So we will take Commissioner Mark's motion first.
Yes,
and
sir.
a second from Commissioner Howard. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Here now, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll in approving the agenda as is.
Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
Commissioner Mark.
No.
Commissioner Mitchell.
No.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
I think we got that voting mixed up.
We're voting to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay.
So Commissioner Smith, I didn't hear.
Agenda as is.
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Booker.
Yes.
Chairman Jones.
Yes. So motion passed.
Yeah.
All right, Commissioners, item 1 under our agenda this evening is the petition of citizens for agenda topics. We will turn it over to the Vice Chair in just a moment, but we thank all of those that are here this evening to petition the Board of Commissioners on agenda topics. As you know, that each speaker has 3 minutes to make those remarks. We do have a timer. Well, it would be back on the screen, I think, now. It used to be up here. Okay, so we would ask I want you to be able to finish your sentence, but if we could be respectful of the next person that will come up, and if you will, to go ahead and kind of end your comments. So at this time, Commissioner, Vice Chairman Booker, we'll turn it over to you.
Sure. The first speaker is Kim Fink.
Good evening, Kim Fink, 646 Goose Creek Road, New Bern. I hate being first. I hate public input. I hate that I'm compelled to speak. I hate that this issue is even controversial. Of course, I'm speaking about the alcohol time change. I hope that I make it clear that I hate it that types of issues like this cause friends to argue, and I consider many of you on this board friends, so I hate that part of it as well. I want to thank the 3 commissioners who voted against changing this ordinance. My issue with changing the time is I don't think it's right to change an ordinance without having a public hearing. That seems to be different from past practices, as well as it doesn't give me much confidence in transparent and conservative board. All of this board, in campaigning and over years of watch, has claimed to be Christians, and most of you also claim to be conservative, and I don't doubt that you're Christians. Our culture continues to erode, however, and Sunday and the sacred reverence of the Lord's Sabbath is at risk. If I had it my way, there would be no alcohol sales on Sunday. I remember the blue laws. We had those when we were in Columbia, South Carolina, and we moved from Ohio, and it was not a big deal. New Bern's culture is changing along with the rest of the country, and change is not always a good thing. I hate it that we're losing the culture of New Bern's quaint little southern community. I watched your work session, and I'm well aware of the reasons given for this change. And to me, the reasons wind down to money, to equal the playing field. I'm reminded of Jesus in the temple flipping over the money changers' tables. Do you think he was concerned about fair and alcohol sales on Sunday, on the Sabbath? I'm reminded that if we yield to this change and continue to yield to losing our sacred values, our sacred Sundays, our sacred faith, we will continue to erode this country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker would be Glenn Fink.
Again, Glenn Fink, 646 Goose Creek Road. First, I want to state that I agree with everything that smart woman that just spoke said. That said, I must read. From our White House, or the approval to kill babies in the womb up to 12 weeks from our state house, or the decision in our county's house to approve a sale of alcohol to begin at 10 a.m. instead of the current already compromised time of Sunday at noon. As Kim mentioned, I was born in Ohio, moved to Columbia in '86. Blue laws were a thing that just the culture, and it wasn't hard to adapt to that, even though I was from a different place. But you talk about erosion, look at what we're discussing here today, holding on to 2 hours in the sacred honor of the most recognized day of faith for the Christian community. And I guess when I look at it, I'm sorry to lose my place here, against the ordinance, I want to speak against the ordinance, but people on both sides will likely say things like, what's 2 hours? Or folks up the street are able to do it. In the words of the great philosopher Popeye, I'm at the point that all I can stand, I've had all I can stand, I just can't stand anymore. I ask you to take the same position and just say no on this ordinance to adjust that time to 10 o'clock. I ask you to just say no, and this is not about rights, this is about reverence. Thank you.
Jerry Schill.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members, commissioners. My name is Popeye. I had spinach earlier, and my name is Jerry Schill. I live in Kings Row here in New Bern. Been a resident of this area since 1984. I used to say 84, but then I had to emphasize 1984, not 1884. You all know what I'm going to say. I mean, we talked about this 6 years ago, and I was right here. At that time, I was chairman of the God and Country Christian Alliance. I'm no longer chairman, but I am an active member. And as I mentioned to many of you all in a personal conversation, you know, when you look at our culture, and I'm not talking about whether we believe in alcohol, whether we don't, whether we're worried about people in James City or whether we're not doing it, or City of New Bern. If we look at our culture in its entirety, and it's said by Kim and Glenn as well, our values have eroded over the years. If my dad would come back, he died in 1974. If he would come back today and see this, not just here, but he was from Pennsylvania. I mean, it would astound him. My granddad, he'd die of a heart attack if he'd come back and see everything that's changed over the years. But we didn't get there overnight. It's just little glitches at a time. This is a little glitch. Just you didn't say no to "In God We Trust." You didn't say no to that excellent prayer that was said, and thank God for you for doing that. Thank you. I appreciate it. But this is one of those little increments. I always envision I'm a political guy. Everything I look at is viewed through a political lens. And I put myself in these chairs if I were you. And if I was sitting in that chair, the easy thing to do would be to vote for the change, because that's the way our culture thinks today. The hard thing to do is to say no. Do the hard thing. Let's stop this incremental degradation of our culture. God bless you.
Michael Speciale.
I'm Mike Speciale. I live in Stately Pines. I brought my We the People hat today to make a point, but I don't like wearing hats inside. A retired Marine, you understand. I don't understand why we're doing this. I don't understand. There's no logic to it. There's no rhyme or reason to it. We visited this 6 years ago, made a decision. You all made a decision not to do it. And now here we are again. Somebody brought it up along the way, apparently. It's not for economic reasons, because it's not going to do anything economically. People are not going to start getting out at 10 o'clock in the morning to go get drunk out in town. They can do that at home. There's no reason to do this. So I guess that's my question. Why are we doing this? What is being made better by doing this? And this is what we should be thinking about as we do our business for We the People. What are you as a group doing to make things better? How will this make things better? I don't see how it will. I don't see it. In God we trust. Man, I applaud you for that. It's on the outside of the building. We said a wonderful prayer, and I applaud you for all that. We're at a time in our country where we've got to stand up for what we believe in. It's not enough to put it up on the wall. It's not enough to say, I'm a conservative. It's not enough to say, this is what I believe. Once you're in office and you've been elected on a platform and you've said, I'm a conservative and I believe this, and this really isn't a party thing, because it affects everybody. There just simply is no good reason, and I would love if somebody had a reason here that could tell me this, but there's simply no good reason for changing this. I'm asking you to leave Sunday morning alone. Leave it to the people that go to church. Not everybody goes to church. Not everybody should be required to go to church. But by golly, those of us that do not need to have to deal with this. We do not need to have to deal with people out there drinking. There aren't that many places that are going to be drinking in the first place. I mean, there isn't that much in Craven County. So again, it's not like it's going to bring millions of dollars into the county. It just doesn't make any sense. When there's other issues that need to be addressed, okay? And I'm not going to go through them all, but I'll just throw one at you. You got a flooding problem in this county, not only in New Bern, but down Old Cherry Point Road. That needs to be addressed. It's been a problem for years. That's something that we should be looking at. That's something that this board should be looking at. There's other areas, reducing spending. You want to drive economic development? Cut your budget, cut your spending. The argument, there's nowhere to cut. There's always somewhere to cut. Cut the taxes, cut the spending. When we cut it in Raleigh, every time we cut taxes in Raleigh, it increased the money coming into the coffers. So it does work. We're paying $3 a bag to dispose of trash in this county, which is why we've got trash all over the place, because not everybody can afford it. Was that the 3 minutes? Yes. God bless you. Please vote no.
Barry Teague.
Barry Teague, 1104 Park Drive, New Bern. I'm lead pastor at Bryce's Creek Bible Church, and this April will be my 41st year here ministering in the county. And for many years, there was a bar just a stone's throw away from the church on Highway 70. And we always sought to be good neighbors to one another. Whenever we would have an event that we thought might infringe upon them during the weeknights, we would always let them know. But I also think it's important to recognize that there's also a need for separation. In a time like this, there's a need. Many people drink responsibly. That's okay. Generally speaking, however, those who are drinking at 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning are going to be more apt to reflect a struggle with alcoholism than those who don't. And quite frankly, there are a lot of churches, there are a lot of restaurants, and a lot of bars all throughout this county. And the children at church who go out for playtime don't need to be exposed to someone walking down the street from one bar to another, or even one restaurant to another. Our church families don't need to encounter that scenario at 11 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And our churches shouldn't need to be having to worry about encountering this, as they surely will, with everything else that we have to deal with on a weekly basis. As for the argument that people can always be home drinking and go out during that time, to me, it's not the same. Those people will normally stay in their houses, unlike in a bar or a restaurant, where they freely move about, going from one place to another. Churches love to care for the hurting people around us. And but we should also seek to minimize negative influences, contribute to the struggles of those same hurting people all around us. So the bottom line is a vote yes to lower the time would be detrimental. Detrimental to the county, I believe, at large. Detrimental because you have to deal with trying to create ministries and agendas that benefit and really bring blessing to the people. I think it would also be detrimental to the people themselves, and most definitely detrimental to the churches during the one time a week that is most sacred to them, 9 a.m. to noon every Sunday morning. So I respectfully ask you to do the honorable thing, and that is vote no to lowering the time. Thank you.
Jim Core.
Commissioners, Jim Core, 331 Miller Boulevard in Havelock. 2018, I was on the Havelock board when this issue came up, and we voted it down 3-2. It came up on this very board and was voted down 5-2. So This issue has already been dealt with once. And it seems like we go through these issues over and over, till we finally get an answer that some want, but nobody's ever going to be happy with it. There was a resolution that was presented to the Craven County GOP convention, and since it did not go through committee, it was going to require a 2/3 vote. It did not meet the 2/3 threshold, but it did go over the simple majority. In other words, over half the people in that room agreed with the resolution, and I'm not going to read the resolution, but I'm going to read the elements of it for you. Basically, already stated that this issue was already settled once back in 2018. Number two, there has not been, as of yet, a scheduled public hearing on a proposed ordinance change, which goes against a long-standing tradition. Number three, the towns of Vanceboro and the cities of Havelock have alcohol sales at noon and 1 o'clock, or Vanceboro's at 1, and Havelock is at noon. Vanceboro used to be at 7 a.m. Understand the general statute related to this allows you to go all the way up to 7 o'clock Monday morning. It certainly would be nice to hear a motion that Craven County is not going to have alcohol sales till 7 o'clock Monday morning, although I don't believe that's going to happen. The idea being is I keep hearing about it's not fair to certain businesses, but when you have municipalities within your county that have already decided we want to have alcohol sales later, I'm asking you, where's the fair representation for your cities that have already decided so? Because what you're going to say if you change it to 10 o'clock is somebody can drive right outside Havelock, buy it, and bring it right back in when Havelock has decided that's not what they want for themselves, and neither does Vanceboro. And so I'd like you to consider that. Number three, increasing alcohol times, as has already been mentioned, could also potentially increase alcohol abuse and addiction, especially when we're talking so early in the morning. But then the last point is the sacredness of Sunday, and I want to thank my brother for making this point very well. You know, in the prayer we heard to begin this meeting, it was asked that the Lord help us to do what is for the betterment of our nation. And I want you to ask yourself, is this truly going to better Craven County, allowing alcohol sales 2 hours earlier? I also hear quite often, we can't legislate morality. May I remind you, the laws that we govern by come from God, right? We have the 10 Commandments we govern by. And every time you sit there and apply a law, you are saying this is now moral or this is not moral. And so I ask you to vote no, or vote down, moving on the alcohol. Thank you.
Josh Core.
Good evening, Commissioners. For those of you that don't know, I'm Josh Core. I'm a commissioner in Havelock right now. And I understand the difficulty in these decisions. A lot of times we're faced with the decisions that are the hardest decisions. The buck stops here. It doesn't go any further than this. And what I want to say is, I want to give you the perspective that is not a lot of times given. We focus on taxes, we focus on business. The perspective that I see that trumps all of that is that this is not an alcohol decision. This is not an alcohol-related decision. The question is honestly being asked, is Sunday sacred? If the answer to that question is yes, then we have a moral obligation to protect Sunday. This nation was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. This nation was founded with the ideas that God is sovereign. Our state constitution starts with grateful to Almighty God. It acknowledges his authority. Behind you is in God we trust. When we salute the flag, we say, one nation under God. These are all things that point to the fact that this nation is that of a Christian nation. And so the question that I have for you is, do you want more religiosity in Craven County or less religiosity? Because I can tell you, if we continue going the direction we're going, I have a kid that will be born in November, and I'm going to be honest, I'm scared for where this country is headed. And we can't stop it unless we take a stand on these small things. You say it doesn't make that much of a difference. You're right. It doesn't make that much of a difference, but ultimately it will allow for one small step to happen in the wrong direction. In fact, it makes so little of a difference that the tax revenues that you would get out of this, I guarantee you won't even cover the lights and the AC in this building while you have meetings for the rest of the year. I doubt it'll even cover it for a whole week. But to be honest, you are in the middle of a fight for the soul of America. You are dead center in this fight right now. And now the question is, what side are you going to take? Are you going to take the side of truth or take the side of evil? And it is that. Thank you for your time.
Bob Griswold.
Bob Griswold, 4807 Delft Drive, New Bern. And thank you, commissioners, for hearing from us. Personally, I'm going to ask you to vote against this change, but I want to bring up a story. I'm going to put a spotlight on my wife for a couple of minutes. When we were back in Massachusetts, our daughter was on a championship softball team. They scheduled Sunday morning practices for this championship softball team. And my wife rightly said, our daughter is not going to be there for Sunday morning practice because we have other more important things to do. I'm going to ask you to please vote against this because we have other more important things to do. No other words. Thank you.
I see this now. I haven't seen it.
Ray Griffin.
Amen. God bless you, brother. God bless America. Ray Griffin, Heartbeat of America, Vanceboro, North Carolina. I've been in the prison system for over 24 years. Been pastoring, and I've been with New Bern PD for 6 years. And I know what alcohol can do. I challenge you today to show where alcohol sales has even helped businesses, education, churches, moral, or anything we hold dear. There's one presumed reason why the liquor store and the restaurants that advocate the sale of alcohol still exist is that it's a false statement that those places are needed to help lighten the tax burden. Sadly, the honest citizen who works harder and lives orderly has to pay willingly or not willingly the tax bills which pile up as a direct result of drunkenness, disorder, and poverty. These items are written down in every courthouse, and every police officer puts his life on the line, and poverty strikes many houses and children. We spend thousands of dollars for people who are addicted to alcohol, criminals, insane, feeble-minded, and the diseases influence people really to alcohol. There are those who advocate we need the restaurants and bars and ABC stores to open on Sundays and holidays and early sales to sell alcohol at any hour because we need the revenue from the sale of alcohol. Who pays for the food, the hospital care, for the people that are confined into jails? Who pays for it? We do. Alcohol, strong drink, is one of the greatest evils of our day. The liquor business is one of our greatest enemies. We are fools if we say we don't see what alcohol has done to America and brought into shame and disgrace. Many are not interested in the moral side. It's purely a matter of dollars and cents. The alcohol business has never paid off its costs. The taxpayers pay more than the revenue derived from it. The Bible states that no drunkard will enter into the kingdom of heaven. The one who votes for these beer joints and liquor stores to open on Sundays and to sell alcohols day and night will stand also in the judgment of the Almighty God. The normal way to get rid of drunkenness is to quit raising drunks, to put the business that makes drunks out of business. Those who vote for the selling of alcohol at the liquor stores, early sales, especially on Sunday and holidays, are pulling the same rope as the devil. The alcohol industry, the brewers, the distributors are filling this land in this county with misery and poverty, death and disease, and is being authorized by the will of the sovereign people in high places. And the Bible says one thing, and remember this: whatever you sow, also shall you reap. And look at America today, what we are reaping. President we got advocating everything from alcohol to transgender, making Easter look like a day of transgenders and all these things. We don't need anything else to burden America. So I ask you to shoot this down, to forget about it. I wish we could go back to the blue law. If I had my way, I'd close every liquor store in town, because I know what it does. I know it's a gateway drug. You can say what you want, but alcohol is a good way for marijuana and heavier stuff. Amen?
Gallo?
Good evening. My name is Pat Gallo. I'm at 1711 Tryon Road here in Newbern. I count this quite a privilege and an honor to come here and be able to speak to the county commissioners. I'm just overwhelmed. I'm not really sure exactly what I'm going to be telling you, but I'm confident that most of you have been raked across the coals before, and this is not going to be nothing new. I looked up in Noah Webster's dictionary on morality, and it said, anyone who knows the difference between right and wrong is a person to decide what is moral and what is not. And it goes on to say that what an amoral individual is, that's a person who really doesn't care about anything. Doesn't give a rip how it hurts anybody or what. Doesn't care about anyone else but themselves. And notice, it seems like it's overwhelmingly obvious that most of you here are oblivious to what the Bible says about this issue. You have any words to stand on that says that this can go through? Let me give you a hint. In Timothy, it says the root of all evil, money, is the root of all evil.
Love of money.
The love of money.
Thank you. Just want to make sure you.
He knows. He knows.
Make sure you get that quote right.
That's right. The love of money. So this is a money issue more than anything else. Somebody wants to make some money. That's all it is. A little bit more money. And you're going to decide on that. You know, if this was in Europe, it would probably, hands down, no problem. But this is not in Europe. This is in the Bible Belt, eastern North Carolina. And you're going to go against your constituency? That's not so bad. But you're going to go against the Word of God. It's going to get you hurt. I don't think I need to say any more.
Julie Sherman?
Short people. My name's Julia Sherman. I live at 1502 Mona Passage Court in Newbern. I have not lived here long. I moved here in 2021, and before that, I spent over 20 years studying alcohol policy that can be used to improve public health and safety. Research has proven that there are predictable pressure points that don't dictate but guide how a community deals with alcohol. It's the availability of alcohol, it's the affordability of alcohol, its cost, its attractiveness, the advertising, and then the acceptability of it, the social norms. I think we've had a pretty good demonstration of what the social norms are in this community, and we don't have to worry about those. This ordinance on its own would be a minor expansion of the availability of alcohol. But this ordinance is not on its own. Already, home delivery of alcohol is now legal from a licensee. Early surveys show that about half the people that call and have alcohol delivered to their home do so because they think they're already too impaired to drive. These people don't need more alcohol. In another area, we have New Bern talking about a downtown social district, another small incremental increase in the availability of alcohol. And we all know that there will be new licensees opening in this community, especially since we're so dependent on the tourist trade. These build up upon each other. And the next thing you look at, you see there'll be a few more drownings. There'll be a few more car accidents. And all this keeps building, and the next thing you know, you guys have a budget in front of you. Each drink that is consumed carries $2.05 in cost. That's verified by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. It's on their website. Feel free to look. Those are 2010 numbers. I bet you the price has gone up. And you know what? 70% of that cost is going to land on us back here, because it lands on the local folks, because it's police, it's fire, it's ambulance, it's incarceration in the local jail. We don't need to add to that increment, and I doubt if you really want to add to that increment. You don't have a great deal of control because we have a very strong and very good state alcohol beverage control board. But at the same token, don't add on because the incremental cost is great. Thank you.
Thank you to those that spoke to the board today. We appreciate it. All right, Commissioners, item 2 is the consent agenda. You have before you the minutes of the March 18th, 2024 regular session and the March 18th, 2024 reconvened session. You have tax releases. Health Department has an increased revenues and expenses for Craven County Health Department Foundation. That's a budget amendment. And then you have the military child proclamation there under D. Are there any consent agenda items you desire to pull this evening?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion to
Second.
accept the consent agenda and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hear none, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Mark?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes, thank you. All right, item 3 is the ordinance amendment, section 1, article 10 for Sunday alcohol sales. You have there before you the ordinance to amend the county's code of ordinances. Staff, do you want to make any changes before I go and to Commissioner Mark, since he made the motion? Okay. All right, Commissioner Mark, you made the motion, so we'll give you the opportunity to speak on it first.
Well, I made the motion because Fairfield Harbor asked me to do that, in that Fairfield Harbor is close to New Bern. They are, at this time, the restaurant on Sundays, and not 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning, that they said that they are in competition with New Bern as far as drawing customers to their Sunday morning brunch. That was one of the reasons they gave. The other reason was, and that goes back to 2018, Food Lion, which is in Havelock, in James City, in New Bern, even though it's in Bridgeton, it was bought out by, that area was taken over by New Bern. They all conserve, New Bern conserve alcohol, and James City can't. So that's why Food Lion had written to me. That is the situation. Fairfield Harbor has asked to do that, and it was put up for a vote, and I guess today we'll have another vote, or in the future. And that's my motion.
Okay, are you making that motion?
Yes.
Okay, so you are making a motion to amend the ordinance, section 1, article 10, under Sunday alcohol sales. All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? I would like to discuss it if no other commissioner is going to, but I want to give you the opportunity.
I will say that my vote will be against it. That's just for personal reasons. I was reminded, and as we do these votes, I don't know if it's a sign or whatever, but my wife was teaching Sunday school and going over the 10 Commandments, and she talked about you'll keep Sunday, God's day, holy. And I liked Bob's comments earlier. He was succinct, and I'll be succinct. That's why I'm voting no.
Okay. All right, any additional comments, discussion? The other night during my, well, it was last week, and I was during my prayer time and Bible study, the Lord gave to me a word, and I wrote it in my phone as quickly as I could, and I actually forgot about it until it popped up, you know, as a reminder on the way here tonight. And I was praying on the way here about what is the right thing to say, that the Lord would have me to say tonight. You know my position. I'm very firm on it. I've tried as chairman during my tenure not to debate a number of issues, but this is one that is serious enough for me and my stand for Jesus Christ that I will debate it. I respect each of you on this board, but I want you to respect my position tonight and my stand and how fiercely tonight I'm asking you to vote against this. I think the speakers tonight did a great job in saying a lot of things, and I probably can't add to as eloquently as some said, but just to give you what was given to me during my devotion time. This Board of Commissioners, we are supposed to be an example. We serve by example. I believe as a deacon in the church, I'm ordained to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm to be an example, to stand behind God's sacred throne. And I think in the same manner, as I sit behind this diocese and this table, I have to serve by example in what I do. But how are we going to be an example to the citizens of this county, but especially to the young citizens of this county, the children? What we're saying tonight, if we pass this as a Board of Commissioners, we say that there's not enough allotted time during the week already. And so we need a little extra time to purchase alcohol. And my question to us as a Board of Commissioners, as we discuss, and we'll be discussing in budget again, of increasing the amount of money possibly that we will spend on substance abuse in this county, and one of those is alcoholism. It's not just the use of opioids, but it is alcoholism. How can we ever be taken seriously by the citizens of this county that we're going to allot their tax dollars to it, that we're trying to combat this issue when we're saying it's okay? We're going to give you more opportunity to purchase. That's in a nutshell on what was given to me. Several months ago, I think it was the pastor that sits in front of us came and under public comment, we didn't know about that this was going to come up. It was under general topics. And I believe you said at that time that you cautioned us as a Board of Commissioners to not accept if the General Assembly passed to allow ABC stores to sell alcohol on Sundays. You said it was probably coming. If we pass this today, there's no turning back. If this General Assembly does pass alcohol sales on Sunday, I'm ashamed of what the General Assembly has already done and the gambling issue that we have before us in this state. But now they're debating it. It was said it's in Rules Committee right now. It may be taken up in the next session, and if it comes before the legislature, will it pass? I don't know. I don't know if there's enough folks to boldly stand up against it. But what's going to happen is it goes to the ABC board, if I'm correct in what staff has told me, and then they have to come to this Board of Commissioners, and we have to make the decision where we will open ABC stores on Sunday. Well, if you're going to give 2 more hours to allow folks to buy it throughout the county, outside the municipalities, why aren't you going to allow the ABC stores to just open on Sundays also? I don't understand it. I'm very disappointed that this is for us. When the vote is taken, though, it's behind us and we move forward. And so that's my comments. Anything else to bring before the board in discussion? All right. If not, we have a motion, we have a second. This is the ordinance before us. This is to change the sale of alcohol from 12 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the county. Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hunt?
No.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
No.
Commissioner Howard?
No.
Vice Chairman Bucher?
No.
Chairman Jones?
No. Motion fails. At this time, we're going to take a 5-minute recess and we'll come back. All right, Commissioners, we'll come back to order. Departmental matters, item 4. The first item we have is the maintenance and repair of the water system budget amendment. We have Mr. Dale Booth, our water superintendent. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. How you guys doing?
All right.
So, as with everything in the country, increases in material cost and labor has caused the overall cost of repairing and maintaining the water system to rise. leaks are really hard to kind of, leaks in main, but it's not something you can prepare for, it's something you got to react to and fix. And so on top of the routine maintenance we do at the water department, we have to also repair these lines and leaks. We spent $93,000 as of March 1st on leak repairs this year, which is more than what we normally spend. That could be attributed to increased construction in the area and just, infrastructure age. But in order to fund the maintenance and repair line for our budget, I'm asking for $70,000 to be moved to that line in order to get that done for the rest of the fiscal year.
Okay, Commissioner Mitchell?
With it, you said earlier that you spent over 93,000 thus far, but you're only asking for 70. Is the
Yes.
23,000 delta, was that covered by money that was already budgeted for it?
Yes, ma'am. So the budget for that line, I believe, is $160,000 is what the budget is. So we've budgeted for the routine maintenance, and we're trying to keep that in a separate line, but we also have a chunk of money that's done for that leak repair, and so that's where this $70,000 will go towards the leak repair. So that'll, hopefully, the delta, I think we're averaging, if you look, about $12,800 a month in repairing leaks and line breaks. So I hope that'll get us through to the end of the year with a little bit of cushion as well.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion, Commissioner?
Will the metering that we're going through now solve some of this problem?
The meter project change out will not solve this problem. That'll be more for the revenue in order to make more accurate readings, and then also helping the individual customers, if they have leaks on their side, we'll be able to notify those customers in a more timely manner so we don't lose water on our end, they don't pay for water they don't use on their end. But
The revenue will help pay it.
But that, hopefully, that's
Okay.
that's what we're hoping for, yeah. So
Other questions, discussion? Dale?
Yes, sir.
I think, and I don't know if it was this budget, the budget before, we had put in there to have some of these, and I don't know the correct terminology for it, there was some, something that was going to be able to detect leakage or the use of a lot of water in certain areas.
Right.
Did we install those?
So one thing we'll use, the new metering project will help that out. That'll help us identify areas that are leaking. But another thing that we had is we also bought pressure transmitters, remote pressure transmitters. And so we've got those deployed out in our system right now. So those are taking instantaneous data for leaks. And so that helps us identify not only where a leak may be, or it also helps identify areas where there may be pressure concerns. And so we're able to get data, kind of take that data, digest it, and I guess manipulate our operational plan to try to help that out.
So that is paying off in what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And hopefully in the budget this time around, maybe we can get a few more, because you can take them off. They're deployable. They're not permanent once you put them in place. So you can actually deploy those where we have problems.
Right, Chair.
Dale, one other question then. This, and I have no problem with this budget amendment, but looking at our budget for next year, are we going to be requested to approve a number that's higher than it was this year so that we don't get to this point next March, April?
I believe that is correct. Yes, sir. We are increasing the budget due to these costs.
For these issues, for these
yes, sir. Yep.
repairs. Are any of these repairs, you and I have had this discussion
Yes,
about
sir.
the internet company that damaged our lines. Are any of these repairs that you're working with a result of the construction that's going on 70, or are these just routine breaks?
Yeah, well, many times the construction on 70 is handled by the contractor doing the work on 70, but there are, as used to be, anytime somebody goes in the ground, put in internet lines or anything like that, we go out and mark those lines, and, sometimes we miss a mark, we pay for that. Sometimes they hit our mark, they pay for that. So we are recouping costs where they're at fault. We are recouping those costs from those companies that are doing damage.
Okay, but I guess my question, maybe I didn't say it clearly. Are we seeing more breaks during this construction on 70 than we normally routinely have seen in the past?
Oh, absolutely. In that area, yes, sir, we are, yeah.
Commissioner Booker, and Dale, I don't want to contradict you, but I think a lot of it's because of the amount of fiber being deployed throughout the county.
That's correct, yes.
Just out in Commissioner Jones's district, have been related to some third-party cable provider that gets ahead of the marking
That's right.
And then runs into our line thinking it's not there.
Right.
So I'm sorry, we see an increase in brakes, but like the Highway 70 project, that's handled completely separate.
I understand.
We never see that, but a lot of the costs that we're incurring right now, like Mr. Jackson, those are happening outside the county where they're deployed, especially in the
And these
Northwest.
are often subcontractors of the
Yes, sir.
company that has been hired to do the work,
That's
correct?
correct, yeah.
And they move very fast.
Yep.
I know that in,
So fast they don't go down deep enough.
I know that in several areas in Township 7, what's the name of the new cable company?
Metronet.
Yeah,
Metronet.
Metronet. I know they've damaged, and the one we had to deal with in
And it's not Craven County, it's
all over.
It's all over everywhere, yeah. All over North Carolina and all, so.
So it isn't necessarily gonna get fixed just because we get the highway done.
Unfortunately not, no, sir. Our staff is doing all they can do to keep up and get everything marked accurately on our end and make sure that we're covered, but, you know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All right, here none, we have a motion and a second to approve the budget amendment in an amount of $70,000. Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Mark?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Booker?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes, thank you, Dan.
Thank you for all you do.
All right, item 5 is planning. We have with us Mr. Chad Strong, our planning director. Good afternoon, sir.
Good evening. Hope everyone's doing well.
Good.
All right, on March the 5th, staff published a request for proposals in search of contractors to install the Bridgepoint Living Shoreline at the confluence of the Neuse and Trent Rivers. The proposals were due by March the 19th at 4 p.m., and we received a total of 8 proposals. After review and rating by our review team, we request the Board of Commissioners award this construction contract to Bobby Cahoon Construction. All contractors are very capable of the task, but Bobby Cahoon Construction presented a fee that was within our allocated construction budget. The construction budget for this project is $114,595. Bobby Cahoon Construction presented a fee of $114,360, which will allow us to complete this project within our budget. At this time, we request the Board of Commissioners award this contract to Bobby Cahoon Construction in the amount of $114,360.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. I have a second.
So moved.
Okay, I have a second. That is to approve the award to Bobby Cahoon Construction in an amount of $114,360. All right, discussion on the motion. Nothing? All right, hearing no discussion, Madam Clerk, if you will, we're going to call the roll on this one, even though we'd not requested, but let's call the roll.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Mark?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Booker?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes. All right, and then B is the request for road addition resolution.
Yes, sir. Planning staff received a resolution request from the developer of Croatan Crossing subdivision for the addition of Station Yard Road and it to be turned over into the state maintenance system. Station Yard Road has a total of 1,022 linear feet. This road is within the Croatan Crossing subdivision off of Catfish Lake Road. The resolution, once passed, will be forwarded to NCDOT for their final consideration and acceptance to the road of this road to the state maintenance system. A vote is needed to approve the standard SR2 road resolution that will be forwarded to NCDOT.
So moved.
I would like to make that resolution. It's in my district.
All right, we have a motion, Commissioner Howard, second from Commissioner Mark. That is to approve the standard SR2 road addition resolution. Any discussion on the motion? All right, hear none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion passed. All right, thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, buddy. All right, item 6, we have Sheriff Chip Hughes with us. We have a state grant amendment.
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chair, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to come before you all this evening. My office worked diligently with a number of legislators in Raleigh to work toward getting this grant to come back to our office to help with search and rescue equipment. and laptops that is much needed by our deputies. In this grant, it's in the amount of $200,000, and it was officially awarded to us. It was part of the report on current operations Appropriations Act of 2023. To be used at the discretion of the Sheriff's Office. I'm asking for the board to accept that money and to put it into our capital accounts. This money will be used for a boat trailer, a side-by-side four-wheel drive all-terrain vehicle that we can use for search and rescue, a van that will be upfitted for the operation of my special response team, like I said, laptops that are needed for my deputies, and an underwater drone. I want to speak real quickly about the underwater drone. That's going to be an expense that is shared by myself and Emergency Management Stanley Kite. We agreed that we would both fund 50% of this. It's a piece of equipment that is much needed with as much water that we have. This is going to enable us to be much more effective in underwater recovery of not only bodies, but also items that have been discarded into bodies of water that we need to retrieve that could potentially be evidence in a crime. So this is very up-to-date and cutting-edge technology. It's being utilized in many counties, larger counties where they have large bodies of water. We've been through multiple demonstrations here. Our county manager has assisted in those demonstrations and seen the technology. And we just think it's a great piece of equipment that will benefit the citizens of this county greatly in our operations.
Okay. Any questions for Sheriff Hughes on this?
Commissioners, Sheriff did a great job. The other half, the $47,380, if you look at the budget amendments coming from our general fund balance to pay the half for emergency management, that would be half of the drone cost.
I will say, Sheriff, I've worked with a lot of air drones. When you get this thing rolling, obviously not on a sensitive matter, but to just see how it works, that would be kind of interesting just to bring back and show us a short video.
The demonstration that we went through is where they actually took a mannequin, sunk it, and then we went out and searched for it. And the unique thing is that day the currents were pretty swift, and this thing stays stationary. It gives us high definition pictures and video of what's taking place, and this thing can stay in the water regardless of the temperature, unlike a diver that we might have to put in, and it can also retrieve up to 300 pounds of whatever might be on the riverbed or floating in the water.
Does it have a heat detection kind of system on it too?
Yeah, it's got, well, as far as the heat, no, but it's got very sensitive cameras that will work at nighttime, so like an infrared, if you will.
Infrared, okay.
Yeah.
It's part of kind of the package with the side scan sonar along with this. So you put the diver down when you know it's there versus them kind of going down blind, Sheriff. And to your point, in conditions that may have current or cold temperatures, it gives them that kind of head start on it.
And this really will kind of take the place, instead of putting up a fully outfitted dive team, we will still have a couple divers that we can use to assist, but this is going to take the place of having to bring up a dive team all together. You know, you don't have to worry about oxygen tanks and all these things. So I'm just glad we were able to do it. I'm glad we got the grant, and I hope y'all take that into consideration as to what we need.
All right, any additional questions?
Motion approved.
All right, we have a motion, have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second, that is to approve the budget amendment in the amount of $247,380. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Booker?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes. Sheriff, you have anything to share with us this afternoon?
I do. I've got some really good news. You know, as we make investments in our opioid problem addictions that we have in this county, and obviously the enforcement aspect of it as well. So we put together a lot of numbers, and that's how we do a lot of our smart policing. But I did want to bring to y'all's attention, as we do comparisons over the past years from 2021 to currently, the month of January, February, and March, we have seen a drastic decline in the overdoses in this county. So the first quarter of the year is really, the numbers are very impressive. Still too many, We had 2 in January as opposed to 10 last year this time. 7 in February as opposed to 9 same time last year, and 2 in March as opposed to 13 last year. So we're starting to see a trend in the right direction. We are taking a lot of bad dope off the streets, but also this is the investment that y'all have made in beds where we can get folks the education and treatment that they need. So I want you to see it's in the numbers. These numbers don't lie. We are seeing a trend in the right direction. I just ask that we all continue to work together as one team to bring these numbers down even more. And these are numbers that I'm sharing with Jack so he can share with y'all, because I think it's important that the public sees this, because y'all have made a huge investment. And I think the public needs to hear these numbers, that we are doing things and it's in the right direction. So it's not perfect, but it's going the right way.
Thank you. All right, Commissioners, any questions for the sheriff? Commissioner Smith?
I have not a question this time, but a comment. I spoke with one of the citizens in my district recently, and this was within a week, and she shared with me that she had spoken with you about concern of what she thought was drug activity in her area and constant street travel up and down the streets. And she said that you replied to her that you tried not to intrude on the chief's territory, but you worked with him in those instances, and you would see if you could and would have some deputies patrol her area. And she said that you've been true to her word, your word, and have done so, and has made a difference in her neighborhood. And I just happened to think about that. Thought I would share that with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you know, the men and women of the sheriff's office do an outstanding job, so they get the credit. But I think everybody knows that the chief of police and I are working together very closely to address this problem from all fronts. And with both resources, when we bring them all together, that does give us a bigger advantage. So regardless of where the problem is in the county, we're both addressing them. So, but thank you very much, and I'm glad to hear that. So we do try.
All right, anything else for the sheriff? Not. Thank you for being here this evening. Yes, I appreciate it, sir. All right, item 7 is facilities, budget amendment. Mr. Zach is with us.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing well, hope you are.
Yes.
During the current fiscal year, the county garage has experienced cost increases related to tires, parts, materials, and specialized tools that have impacted budget expenditures beyond what was anticipated for the FY 23-24 budget. There have also been numerous unanticipated repairs this fiscal year related to transmission and engine replacements in the county's fleet. These price fluctuations and unexpected repairs have resulted in a shortage in the expenditure line, other supplies, for the current fiscal year. With 3 months left in the fiscal year, a budget amendment will be necessary in order for staff to process vehicle services and repairs without delay. Staff is requesting a budget amendment in the amount of $150,000 to allow the garage to continue processing vehicle services and repairs without delay for the remainder of the fiscal year. $75,000 is to be budgeted in the garage expenditure line, and $75,000 is to be allocated in the listed department line for when the garage charges for work performed.
Okay, any questions first for Mr. Zach? All right, here none. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a second. I have a motion and a second to approve the budget amendment in the amount of $150,000. Any further discussion on the motion? Here none. Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Mark?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it, buddy. All right, item 8 is appointments. You have before you the pending, current, and upcoming terms expiring. Are there any pending appointments, nominations tonight? All right, hearing none, we will move to current. We have one before us, the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. You have an applicant, Marlo Blake, who seeks appointment to fill the court counselor seat. And I think this is required, and this individual meets that.
Yes.
So, do we have a nomination?
I nominated.
Okay, we have the nomination of Marlo Blake. Are there additional nominations? All right, hearing none, we will set by acclamation. All right, you see the upcoming terms expiring. Are there any other appointments to bring before the board tonight? All right, hearing none. Next item, we will go to the county attorney's report. Mr. Eric Grady. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I have one item for your consideration this evening. It involves offer to purchase for county-owned surplus real estate that we acquired through the tax foreclosure process. The board has considered this matter earlier, but did not want to proceed with the initial offer, and this is the revised offer that I'm bringing back. The property is located at 165 E Street in Bridgeton with the parcel ID number of 2004009, and the commissioners may recollect, we did not acquire this property through your modern tax foreclosure process. It was acquired back in the 50s, so we have a little less familiarity with it than we normally do with the surplus properties we bring to you. But the updated offer is in the amount of $10,000. For what it's worth, the 1952 tax sale price was $394.71. And as I noted in the agenda packet, all of our sales are as is, where is. But we took special caution with this particular buyer to say this is really an as is, where is, because we don't have any recent, again, familiarity. We've attached the normal information in your agenda packet, and so we would like some direction from the board whether we should move forward.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve this transaction of parcel number 2-004-009. It will be authorized advertisement for upset bids, correct?
Yes,
okay. All right, we have that motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Jack.
I just want to remind the board, this was previously discussed, there was an offer here, I believe it was $5,000.
Correct.
And staff went back and reviewed, and this is in line with what we believe the value to be. Obviously, we haven't, it's 1952 marketed it, so, but in looking at other properties in the area, this is consistent with that now.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, next we have the petition of citizens for general topics. Vice Chair Booker.
Yes, we have one speaker, and that would be the gentleman who is approaching the podium.
Good afternoon,
Mr.
everyone.
Albert Lester.
My name is Albert Lester. I live at 706 Badger Lane in Havelock, North Carolina. The general topic tonight, this evening, is thank you. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, county manager, assistant county manager, sheriff, and staff who's not here. We really appreciate all the hard work and hard decisions that you have to make for hundreds, thousands of people that live here in Craven County. One thing I've come to understand is that we can't satisfy everyone. But I'm here on behalf of 80% of the people here in Craven County, and we say thank you. We also say thank you to our Sheriff Chip Hughes. You have allowed him and provided him with the resources to do his job, provided him with people, provided him with vehicles, and we are seeing the results. No one can attest that he's not doing his job. His deputies are doing their job. They up and down this roadway 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so we can sleep soundly. We don't have to worry about it. I see them out there changing tires. I see them out there pushing cars, helping people. They're really doing a great job. And like the sheriff said, he's working with the other law enforcement agency within Craven County and outside Craven County. So the criminals can't run to the county line and look back and say, ha, ha, ha. We can continue cross county lines now. That's a big plus for us. And I want to thank him for that and his leadership over there in the Craven County Sheriff's Office. And I want to thank the commissioners for their leadership in Craven County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it, Vice Chair? All right, thank you, sir. All right, next we have the county manager's report. Mr. White.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity, and I hope you all had a happy Easter. Couple things, updates. Last week, Secretary of Commerce was here. I know Commissioner Mitchell was there as well. Interesting comments. It was interesting to me, her memory of Craven County was a White River Marine announcement a couple years ago with Hatteras Yachts and how meaningful that was to the state as a whole. That was one of her opening remarks. But also that she's from Eastern North Carolina and really talked about some of the challenges and some of the benefits of being here. But it reminded me of how hard Mr. Wood works every day, and I spent most of the day with him today talking to new prospects. So it puts it in perspective when you have somebody from Raleigh and something in Craven County sticks out to her. So just wanted to point that out. Last week, Amber and I met with, and I'm going to mess this up, ICGH, and they are a new company in the substance abuse arena that's partnering with Carteret County. They're opening a facility in Sea Level. A couple commissioners are acutely aware of this there. It's a 104-bed facility. Be opening, they took control in April, hopefully opening in June or July. Different levels of care from detox to long-term residency, adolescence, IVCs, involuntary commitments, all those things. It was very, very good meeting, Amber. Certainly look to her for feedback. But they're at the point where they need to start either working with Craven County or not working with Craven County. And I'd like, if the board's okay, to have a longer discussion at your April 15th meeting about what direction we're going. And just for the record, both Carteret County and Carteret General Hospital have pulled out of the Dick Center funding model. So I've been working with the Onslow County manager. He's relatively new. There is no necessary magic bullet to fix that problem there other than more money. And we know, and Commissioner Smith serves on that board, and her and I have been working very closely with them on trying to align the 8% of occupancy that Craven County maintains with the 33% in revenue that we provide to the facility, how that works. The Carteret-Craven partnership would be unique. They would still accept other folks, but certainly Craven and Carteret being partners in this would have the lion's share of the bed space in there. There are some things they're going to do in this facility that I haven't heard about being done in North Carolina. One of them's having a staff psychiatrist on facility there, and that's a big deal. The adolescent piece of this is also very interesting, and Amber and I still need to talk with Mr. Merritt about what that would mean for him. But as you know, and you see his numbers and you've heard his presentations, that situation is not getting any better. So more tools in the toolbox closer by. And Sheriff Hughes is still here, and one of the things they mentioned, when the sheriff has an IVC, if he can't get a bed, he's going to Asheville, Winston-Salem, Tennessee, wherever he can find that bed. And that means we got a deputy on the road 4 to 6 hours one way. Then they got to come back. Then when that person is discharged, they have to go get them, come back. And oftentimes, Sheriff, there's a lot of challenges logistically with that, and he can share more with that when the time's right. But if this opportunity came, it would be a great resource for him. By my watch, it's about 55 minutes to an hour there. Commissioners, I don't know how you felt. It feels like a long time, but it's not really.
Seems like 4 hours.
You just don't see a lot on the way, right? So we would like to put something on the agenda for a longer discussion next meeting. Mr. Chairman, if you're okay and the board's okay with that. I'll bring you some options. And there are some grant opportunities ICGH is looking at that we want to talk to you about.
Jack, I would ask, though, I think it might be helpful if Sheriff could be here, maybe Jasmine, maybe, key players to
be here that day.
Because I think we do need to go ahead and, I think as a board, make a decision kind of where we're heading so we know with our relationships with others, Dix and whoever.
I know I'm talking about the sheriff's budget that day, so I'm sure he'll be in town.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say anything that will cut down on the trips that we go to Winston-Salem. On days when I've got 3 deputies in Winston-Salem.
I brought that up with the dogs.
Anyway, so that we'll put that on the agenda and have those folks available to help with information on that. And lastly, sort of impromptu, I'm reminded often, and I appreciate Mr. Lester's comments, there's not enough thank yous in the world sometimes, and we need to do a better job as a society on that. But I'm going to do my part tonight. And there was 2 really outstanding individuals within Craven County government over the last month that I wanted to point out, and neither one of them are here.
but I'm going to do it anyway. One's Amanda Lang, and I forwarded an email from a citizen about her customer service out in the inspections department. And for years, we've always battled they're not nice enough, not helpful enough, and we've really focused on customer service in a couple key areas. And I was so proud of Amanda. She's got great spirit. She's very friendly, and she does a great job, and she should be rewarded for that. So if you see Amanda, please point that out to her. But I'm proud of her, and it's what makes Craven County great, is how we treat our citizens. And second, and I'm glad he's not here because his head wouldn't fit out the door when he's leaving, but is our solid waste director, Mr. Stephen Astor. Stephen's asked to look and do a lot of things that many of us wouldn't want to do. And this morning I called him first thing and said, hey, I need you to go do something. 10 minutes later, he's texting me pictures, he's texting me messages, he's sending me notes. And Stephen does that every day. He's out before I am, and he's back after I am. And he does a fantastic job for this county. Just in the last week, he's met with other jurisdictions about our solid waste program. He's very articulate. He gives information. He gives facts. And I'm proud of Stephen for what he does. So I want to point those two individuals out to you. And I think once a month I'm going to start doing this because I think it's important to recognize those folks.
Good idea.
But I'm here if you have any questions for me or comments. Yes, ma'am.
Just to add on to that, I would say that about a year ago, there was a citizen that complained about the property next door, which was absolutely disgusting. And Stephen personally got his hands into that and helped clean up that property. Got dumpsters brought in, and just way beyond what his quote-unquote job duty would call for. So that was another situation.
Absolutely.
I do have another question on a completely different subject.
Yes, sir.
I got a call after I saw something on the internet about a company in the industrial park, and the internet story was that there were like 130 or 150 jobs being lost. And it was on the weekend, and I really couldn't verify it.
Sure.
I talked to Jeff today, and Jeff Wood, and he said, well, number one, the article online made it sound like they were closing the facility, okay? When in reality, all they're doing is moving the automotive part of the facility to one of their other facilities. They're not, what won't be impacted is the part that supplies, I believe, Bosch.
Yes, sir.
And instead of 130 or 50 jobs, he said, I think he said 40 of which half or 50 of which half are temporary.
Correct.
So once again, if you read it on the internet, it's got to be true, right? A very, very poorly written, deceptive kind of an article on the internet. And as I said, I talked to Jeff. He cleared it up. And I think, just for whoever's listening tonight, to clear it up, it's important that when we make reports, and it didn't come from us.
That's
correct. It came from, I believe, some employees.
Right.
In the facility. Sounded like that's where they got their information. So, once again, if you read it in the newspaper, it must be true. If you see it on the internet, it's got to be true, is a bunch of garbage. Right. And we need to be careful and make sure that we're doing our part. And we didn't do anything wrong, but we need to make sure we're doing our part to give accurate information.
Got it. So I learned something over the last 19 years of doing this. There's always more to the story, right?
Yep.
There's always more to the story. And you're right. There's lots of moving pieces in this, and some of it I know through direct conversation with Jeff and his conversation with the staff. But generally, you're right. There are some macro level, big economic things worldwide that affect all of our corporate clients, right? There's just ripples and things that happen. And we saw some of that with Hatteras back in the fall.
Yep.
And, employees are passionate about their jobs, as they should be. And sometimes, again, there's more to the story there, too. But in this particular case, yeah, it's a natural ebb and flow of the business cycle there. But nobody at the company is talking about closing the factory down. So I think that's important to know. And that was the connotation you could get from that article. And that's not that's not what's happening, so.
It actually was on the nightly news. It wasn't
Was it?
just on the internet, yeah.
Well, and there are some things that trigger certain notices through state government called a warn notice. Meaning if there's a certain percentage of the employees that are being
have to
laid off,
notify.
potentially laid off, they have to provide that notice. And that triggers local and state resources that then assist in future job placement.
And I don't want to minimize the fact that if 20 people,
Sure.
I believe that was the number Jeff gave me, are probably going to be laid off, that's, to those 20 people, that's a big deal.
Right.
And I don't want to minimize that, but it's not 150.
Correct.
And it's not a plant that's closing.
Correct.
So, anyway, I just want to make sure that we get that message out as best we can if anybody asks.
Yes, sir.
All right, anything else for the county manager?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, commissioners' report. Who'd like to go first this evening?
No report.
All right, we start with Commissioner Mark. He said no report. We'll go Commissioner Hunt.
I attended the NC Works Job Fair a few days ago, an outstanding event. Represented 75 employers were there, along with other nonprofit agencies to spread the word of the good work that they do in Craven County. They had nearly 300 people there looking for jobs. If you've never attended one, I'm not going to say you might find a new job there, but they had everything from Border Patrol representatives there to how to become a barber in Craven County and everything in between. I want to say Craven County staff was well represented across the board, and they did a phenomenal job as always. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Smith.
No.
All right. Vice Chair Booker, you want to go next?
Yeah, at the risk of, what did you say, that you're glad that Stephen wasn't here because he couldn't get out the door because his head? And I just want to, the same thing for the sheriff here. Mr. Lester, thank you for your comments and your glowing report of the sheriff. But I want to just remind everybody, the sheriff's primary job is not traffic enforcement. Although his deputies do traffic enforcement, that's not their primary job. But I got to tell you, I drive from New Bern past Bridgeton every day, at least once, and it is common to see one of our sheriff's deputies having someone pulled over to give them a little, what's the right word? Give them a little
Counseling.
instruction or maybe a ticket. They do a great job, and they do a lot of it. And even though it isn't their primary role, they're not shirking their duty when it comes to law enforcement on the road. So, Sheriff, compliment your guys on that.
Anything else, sir?
No, that's it.
All right, Commissioner Mitchell.
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, Commissioner Howard.
I'll just say April 8th, I'm holding, I don't know, 5th or 6th town hall meeting, 6 p.m. at our Township 6 Fire Department. Meeting will cover some, I would call them very local issues. There's been some issues with driving and stuff like that. And again, I'll say thanks to the sheriff. He's very responsive and seen deputies out there a lot. We've had a car run through someone's front door, to 2 milk boxes destroyed, stuff like that. So part of that will cover that. We'll have a DOT representative, and I want to say thanks to Chad Strawn, since we're complimenting staff here. Him and Jack are one that I call when any of these issues arise in my district, whether it's someone digging a hole that looks too deep and someone is, because I've got some very engaged citizens. They'll call me up immediately or share pictures with me or just post to social media and tag me, and I'll see that. So, which is my favorite. But I respond immediately because that's my job, and then that usually means that things roll that way. So whether it's Chad or Jack or somebody else, just especially with Jack, and then I'm not saying especially with Chad, but I'm sure with Jack too, just very quick responses, and that's what people want. So that's good for me when they do that. So I appreciate that. Same thing with the sheriff. Whenever there's something going on in the neighborhood, very quick response. And I'll say to Mr. Lester, thank you for your comments. Although it's not necessarily just us, that it's your money we're spending, and thank you for your support. And I think that's important to note. You know, it's not just us, but it's your support that makes it happen. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Can you come back to me?
Yes, Commissioner Smith.
I did not remember at the moment, but I am also having a town hall. It will be April 30th at 6 o'clock at the senior building on George Street. And we will be addressing issues that are of concern, bringing you up to date on programs that are current, and also listening to citizens' needs and topics that they are concerned about. So we wish to let all of you know to come to our town hall meeting again, April 30th at 6:30 at the Senior Citizen Building on George Street.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else to bring before the board tonight? All right, hearing none, do I have a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.